right. Welcome. You're listening to Coffee Break with Purdue Engineering, a podcast production from the Office of Future Engineers at Purdue University. In this podcast series, we discuss the many programs, majors, and opportunities found in Purdue Engineering through conversational interviews with staff, faculty, alumni, and current students. We hope you enjoy our show and it helps answer some of your questions about what it's like to be an engineering student at Purdue. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode where we're going to be discussing Purdue's mechanical engineering major. I'm one of your hosts, Calvin Given, a current graduate student in electrical and computer engineering from Lakewood, Colorado.
Yeah, and my name is Bryan and Calvin. I'm a junior in electrical engineering from Miami, Florida. And some things I'm involved with on campus are I'm a resident assistant within the university. I'm a part of the National Society of Black Engineers, and I am a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And this week, we're joined by Alanna.
Hi guys, my name is Alanna Nash. I am a current senior in mechanical engineering. I'm also getting a minor in management and a certificate in extensive industry cooperation. Basically, I'm just going to graduate with a ton of work experience that I'm more than happy, and I'm sure we'll talk about later.
Yes.
I'm also really involved here with the Office of Future Engineers. I've been working here for quite a few years. I'm also really involved in the Women in Engineering program. Shout out to them, especially Engineering 194. So if there's any future engineers hopefully listening that come to Purdue, I highly recommend signing up for Engineering 194. It's a seminar. It's super easy. You just hear from a bunch of alumni. They're really awesome, and you just kind of hear about their experiences throughout Purdue and Purdue Engineering. And then lastly, which is probably what we'll be talking about mostly on this podcast, is my experiences in mechanical engineering. I've done a ton. I've been a TA for the past 3 years in a class that kind of no longer exists and is now a new class that now I'm actually the course coordinator for. And it's our manufacturing and design class for our sophomores. So that's really exciting.
You are the epitome of how Purdue students get involved with everything that they can because we love it here so much.
Yeah, I'm never not busy is what I will say.
And so where did you come to Purdue from? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, so that's actually a pretty fun question as well. So my family now lives south of Boston, kind of in the Plymouth, Massachusetts area. So think of like the Plymouth Rock and, the Mayflower and all that stuff. Before that, I lived in Vermont, the Burlington area. I lived there for about 11 years. And then before that, I lived outside of Honolulu, Hawaii. And now for the past 5 years, I've lived in the great state of Indiana.
You've been all over the place.
Yeah, no, I have, and definitely been enjoying my time in Indiana. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm sure we'll talk about all that fun that I'll get into later as well.
Yeah, what are some of the things that you used to do in high school and that you've continued into college and that you've started doing in college in terms of like hobbies and things that you like to do?
So in high school, my favorite thing to do was play rugby. So I played rugby throughout high school. It was super duper fun. I highly recommend getting into women's sports, specifically rugby. I actually went to school and played rugby with a now Olympian, and she was also on Dancing with the Stars. So shout out to Alona Mar. You're super awesome.
Olympian?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Anyways,
crazy.
Super cool. And so I actually didn't continue that in college just because engineering is a pretty big time commitment, and I wanted to do a co-op and a bunch of other things. Right. So I was like, I don't know if I can really have the time to do a club sport right now.
Yeah.
And then also in high school, I did a lot of speech and debate. I did DECA. I did a lot of theater. I did a lot of public speaking things, and I actually did nothing relating to engineering whatsoever. I never touched like robotics or anything like that in high school. The most was like AP physics. And so I kind of went into engineering being like, okay, well, I know I like those things.
Yeah.
Let's just see how it goes, especially with Purdue's first year engineering. And so most of my time at college has been kind of taking a lot of those things I did and kind of changing them into kind of the sphere of engineering. So I do a lot of public speaking kind of in this the scope of engineering. And I do a lot of teaching as well. And so those are things that I've kind of found that I've really loved to do.
Yeah, and I know you said that engineering kind of like you weren't really thinking about it or whatnot. So like, what kind of led you to go to Purdue against like any other schools?
Yeah.
And for engineering specifically.
Yeah.
So the engineering part actually spans all the way back to 5th grade. So when I went to school in Vermont, there was this thing called Starbase, and I think they still do it, where every Friday or one Friday a month for the entire year, the entire day we would go to the airport and we would work with the National Air Guard.
Yeah.
And they would teach us like all about STEM and engineering. So we did stuff from like CAD, we did egg drop, we learned how to like 3D print, how like the basics of chemistry worked, all these different kind of engineering components, and it accumulated in building a model rocket, and we shot it off and, you know, competed to who would get the highest rocket. And, you know, 5th grade Alanna was like, that's just the coolest thing ever. Did not know how to spell the word engineer whatsoever. So I look back, actually I found my like report that I wrote about my experience, and I think I spelled engineer wrong at least 6 different ways in like a span of 1 page. Still not a great speller. Like spelling and English, not my strong suit as an engineer. I'm totally fine with that though. So I knew I wanted engineering. And so when it came to looking at schools, Purdue was, you know, kind of one of those schools I was like, well, it's one of the top 10 engineering schools. I'll just kind of look at them. A lot of the other ones were frankly really outside of my price range. Purdue was kind of the only one that was in the top 10 that would actually be affordable to me, especially as an out-of-state student. And so I actually came and visited shortly actually after I had a major abdominal surgery. So I was like couple weeks post-op when my doctor was still like, you should be getting bed rest. And then I visited, and there was a tornado on campus that took down a bunch of trees. I was hidden in the basement of Stewart. Our tour guide was like, you have to stay down here. My dad's a weatherman, so he was like trying to get me and my mom to like go outside and take videos of what was happening. And my mom and I are like, can we go out? And he's like, no, you can't leave. Like, it's a liability. I'm like, please, like, we know what we're doing. And he's like, no. And so after kind of experiencing the tornado and walking around campus, I actually missed my engineering information session. I was supposed to go to one, and I did not realize that there was a time change between Chicago and Indiana. Coming from the East Coast, I'm like, Indiana's so far away. Like, there's no way they're on the same time zone as me. So if you ever visit Purdue, which I highly recommend, just know that here at Purdue, we are on Eastern time. So different than Chicago.
Not Central Time.
Yes. So I actually came and I sat down with our office and talked to Lindsay, who is still our office manager, and a couple other peer counselors who I got the honor of working with my freshman and sophomore year, and talked to them for about 2 hours about kind of all the ins and outs about Purdue Engineering. And now I get to do the same thing. And there was really no other school that I was looking at that kind of gave that same
personal touch.
Yeah, that, and also, I don't know, like the energy that Purdue has, and kind of how you'll feel it if you ever come to campus. There's very little competitiveness between the students. Like, everyone really tries to support each other, and engineering is really hard. And I'm definitely still learning that, even though I'm like, you know, looking back at my academic career, and I'm like, you know, Calc 1 was really hard. Now I'm like doing like partial differential equations like casually, and I'm like, oh, Calc 1 would have been so easy now, but I'm still like, oh, it's still really hard. But, you know, everyone works together, and so I think that's something that's also really unique about Purdue. And so I'm really happy that I ended up here.
Yeah. I agree with you. For me, it was very similar, like the price range, being an out-of-state student, and I think the best thing I've gotten from it, which maybe I wasn't really expecting, is what you just touched on, is like the people here. It's like, it's a lot more friendly than I expected. It's like if I remember like when me and my dad were here, whenever we felt like lost, like we were looking for something, random people would come up to us and be like offering, oh, like, where do you need to go? Like, we can help get you there. Like, yeah, it's like it doesn't feel real sometimes.
Yeah, I'm a little scared to enter the real world, because I know like people aren't as nice as they are at Purdue. Like out in like, you know, the regular world. It's almost like we have like this fun little bubble.
Yeah. Yeah, so I had a similar experience actually with my campus visit. I got that kind of sense of collaborative nature, and I've found it to hold true my entire time here for sure, and that's something that I really enjoy about Purdue. And I mean, it's funny we have all three of us that have that same exact experience. But anyways, I guess switching gears a little bit, how would you describe mechanical engineering in terms of what opportunities are there? Are there concentrations within it? Some of the big student organizations that people like to usually get involved in?
Yeah. So I think mechanical engineering, or I'm also going to refer to it throughout this podcast probably as ME. Mechanical engineering is just, it's a long word. Well, I guess it's 2 words, actually. I can count as well. So with mechanical engineering, a lot of people like, oh, it's super broad. Like you can pretty much do anything with the degree. And I definitely agree with that. And I think there's a lot of people who kind of are in mechanical engineering just in the sense of you can do a lot with that degree. You can pretty much go anywhere into any industry with a mechanical engineering degree. And so for me, I actually came to Purdue like dead set on environmental engineering. I'm like, I'm going to be an environmental engineer. In 6th grade, I learned what climate change was. And I was like, I'm going to fix that. I'm going to solve that. I'm going to change the world. And the word climate and the word environment kind of like hand in hand. And I knew I wanted to be an engineer. So I was like, okay, environmental engineering, easy peasy. But I always wanted to do a bunch of design work. And so that's not something that environmental engineers necessarily do in the capacity that I was looking for. And so I'm really happy that first year engineering got to teach me that.
How did it teach you that?
Yeah. So first year engineering, right, you have that whole first year to kind of explore all the different majors through all the different projects and go to what's called engineering your major sessions. And so through these sessions from faculty, advisors, and current students, you learn a lot about what each like major actually does, and you get to kind of dive into the courses, because I think that's a big thing that separates out the majors is necessarily like it's the courses you take, not necessarily what you go and do with your degree afterwards. So there's a lot of overlap in like the career fields between all of the different majors, but it's the courses that you take that kind of sound the most interesting. So no offense to environmental engineering whatsoever. I've taken environmental engineering classes. They've been awesome. But I definitely found that I kind of aligned a little bit more with the mechanical engineering classes with what I wanted to do. And so we do a lot of statics, thermodynamics, a lot of math, a lot of physics. You know, I have a love-hate relationship with those 2 things after the past few years. I'm definitely not going to say it's easy. We currently have the largest undergraduate mechanical engineering class, I believe, in the country. And so there's a lot of students, but I've never felt like I'm like one of a number. Like there's it's really personable. Like I get to like, I get to like meet all my peers. Like I see familiar faces in every single one of my classes. And it's not like the class sizes are huge. And so with mechanical engineering, what's really great about it is you have like your core curriculum, but they give you a lot of availability to take your like mechanical engineering electives and your technical electives. So like one of my really good friends, she loves thermodynamics. Could never be me. I like took it, passed it, left. I was like, that's it. That's all I'm going to do with thermodynamics.
Not going back to that again.
Yep. But she's like, she took thermodynamics 2, thermodynamics 3, and then she took 2 thermodynamics grad classes.
Wow.
And we're both going to graduate in mechanical.
She really liked it.
Yeah. I wish I knew her sophomore year when I took it, because then like it would have been nice to know someone to like who really knew what they were doing. But we're both going to graduate with the same degree that says mechanical engineering, right? And we're both actually getting a minor in management as well. So on paper, just with those, like the literal piece of paper we get, we're getting the same degree. But where she's going to go in her career is going to be completely like different from where I go in my career. So for me, I've been taking a lot of design classes. So I'm kind of doing a lot of design classes, taking a lot of management classes, because eventually I kind of want to go into like project design and project development and project management. I just really love kind of the engineering mindset behind a lot of things. And I think that's one of my favorite things about engineering is no matter what discipline you go into, you come out thinking like an engineer.
Exactly.
Like my mom, after my first year, I remember she saying like, wow, like you just like think about things differently. The way you like approach a problem is completely differently after first year engineering, because they like ingrain in you and this like very logical and thought out way of thinking that makes decision making way easier, especially if you're someone who's like indecisive. You know, not necessarily about everything, but like about like very like logical things. It makes the decisions a lot easier.
Yeah, and I know you kind of touched on how your friend loved thermodynamics. So what were some of your favorite ME classes? I know you kind of talked about design. So
I think my overall favorite class would have to be ME 444. It's just basically I think the official like title is like computer aided design. So it's a CAD class, but the unofficial like title for it is toy design. So it's kind of like infamously known around Purdue, and it's hard to get into. You got to be like junior or senior standing only to get into it. And you do a ton of different CAD projects throughout the semester. And at the end of the semester, you get in a group and you make a toy from scratch. And so my toy is actually still sitting in the mechanical engineering. Like
it's in the glass box.
It's still in the glass box. It's been, when did I take that class? I took that in spring of 2023, and it's still sitting there.
Wow.
I think it's been moved quite a few times. And I will definitely say when we built it, it was not built for actual durability. It was more of a concept piece is what I'll say. So we did, our former president here at Purdue was Mitch Daniels. And back in 2020, when I started college, so a long time ago, a group of students here at Purdue in mechanical engineering, I believe, and I think a couple other engineering majors, made a motorized couch cart. So they took like this huge grandma-looking couch and put it on basically 4 wheels, and you drove it around by a 4x4. And it's just like you just push the 4x4 forward and just move it around, and just that's how you'd get around. And so spring of 2021, and they were like always whipping it around campus. And it was so fun to see.
Efficient mode of transportation.
Yeah, it really was. I remember my parents visiting, and they're like, Alanna, I swear I just saw like a couch fly by, like down the street. And I'm like, what are you talking about? At that point, I hadn't yet seen the couch. It was only like a month into the semester. I was like, what are you guys talking about? Like, you're crazy.
Insane.
And then like 2 weeks later, I see the couch. I'm like, whoa. And so then in the spring, Mitch Daniels, he actually rode that into graduation because they had graduation in Ross-Ade Stadium for COVID purposes. And so he rode it into the stadium. So we actually recreated that as our toy. So it was a little motorized couch with a Mitch Daniels in full regalia, and he would wave as like you would drive around.
That's an amazing toy.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. And I will definitely say ours didn't look as good as a lot of the others. Like definitely there were some artists. None of the people in our group were an artist by any means. So I did the best what I could with a paintbrush and a sewing needle. But I think that was probably like one of my favorite classes that I've taken here at Purdue, I would say. It was super fun. I highly recommend it if you become a mechanical engineer.
Now, I know you mentioned you started in 2020. And you were graduating with a lot of work experience.
Yes.
So how did that play into your degree and your timeline towards graduation?
Yeah. So one of my other things that I wanted kind of when choosing a college is I knew I wanted to do a co-op.
Yeah.
So I actually learned about this through a couple other schools that I visited before Purdue that were a little closer to home. One was Northeastern, where they actually require the co-op program. And so I was like,
before you start, can you tell us what a co-op is?
Yes. Okay. That's a good point. So co-op. So co-ops are basically like a rotational internship. So internships, it's that regular 13-ish weeks over the summer. You go to a company, you're getting paid. No engineer from Purdue should ever accept anything unpaid, by the way. You go, but you might not necessarily do anything super intensive to the company. You might be doing like an intern project where they're like, hey, this is a project we've already solved. We want to see what you can do with the same kind of, customer needs and everything like that. Whereas a co-op, it's basically a rotational, more intensive long-term internship. So typically, the way at least I did it, every other semester, I would work full-time. Wow. So I would be a student full-time. So I started freshman year. I was a student both fall and spring semesters.
Yep.
I started my co-op the summer after my freshman year. So that whole summer from May till literally the first day of school, I was working at my company. And then I went to school in the fall, went back and worked in the spring.
That's awesome.
Went to school in the summer, back to work in the fall. And I did that for about 5 semesters, which was really awesome. So it did extend my graduation timeline, which is why I'm taking so long.
But you have all this experience.
Yes.
I'm sure you were able to pay off some of college with that.
And so that really helped, not only paying for college, it's a big reason why I did it.
Yeah.
Also, obviously, it's going to help when I'm looking for a full-time job.
Yeah.
But then also, a lot of the skills I realized I was learning like the summer after my freshman year. I was like, wow, I'm learning this and I'm doing it on the job. I get to like junior year and I'm taking some of these classes. I'm like, oh, I already know how to do this. Like, I already know how to do this calculation that I learned like when I was like still like freshly 19. And now I'm like, 21 and like learning how to do it again. I'm like, wow, look at me. I like know something first for the first time, which was pretty cool. And then this year I split up my last semester of college into 2 part-time semesters, so I could do another co-op, because of course I can't just graduate with 5 academic semesters of industry experience.
That'd be too easy.
No, of course not. So I'm doing another part-time co-op as well this year. So I'm going to graduate with a ton of work experience. And the thing about college is Purdue doesn't go anywhere, and like
Right.
you make friends with people who aren't just like in your grade, and the whole like idea of like a grade isn't the same as it was in high school.
Yes.
And so, me being 23 right now, it's not like, oh, I'm friends with a 19-year-old, I'm friends with a 20-year-old. Like, that's so weird. It's college, right? So I'm also like friends with someone who, has 3 kids because they're in PhDs. Like,
Exactly,
they're doing cool things too. So college doesn't go anywhere. So I really encourage like every student I meet and I mentor, to really take the time. If they want to do a co-op, do a co-op. If you want to study abroad for a semester or for a full year,
You should.
do it. Because like trying to do that when you're out in industry, you can't just like go take a full year and go to France. Like
Exactly.
you can't do
can't.
that. So
Honestly, study abroad is one of the things that I wish
Me
I
too.
did as an undergrad. I was
Me
going to ask
too.
if you did it, but it seems like not.
Yeah.
no,
We
I
have-
traveled a lot. I definitely will say I traveled a lot, but I never did an official study abroad. That's the other thing. If like you don't study abroad, definitely study abroad. I definitely did homework abroad on trips.
Yeah.
For sure, especially when I was doing like online summer classes. I'm
It's just
like,
great
oh,
experience
I'm in
to meet-
Norway and I'm doing my
Exactly.
math homework and taking my math quiz right now. So definitely like if you have the means, like do it while you're in college, because you don't have to take PTO and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I feel like for me, anytime visiting abroad, it's always like very different for me. Like it's a different culture, it's like a different way of life, and it makes me, when I come back to like here, I'm like, wow, I think about life a little differently.
Yeah, it also impacts engineering a lot. And I think
Yeah.
that's one of the other really cool things about first year engineering and Purdue overall is we're not Indiana students. Like
Right.
it's not just Indiana students especially the College of Engineering. I mean, what? None of us are from Indiana.
No.
Yeah.
Only about 28% of the engineering students on Purdue's campus are from Indiana.
Yeah.
I couldn't even told you where Indiana was 5 years ago.
Well, I think that's a bigger issue.
That sounds like an issue, Brian.
Geography was never my strong suit.
So, and I think that it's a really great thing is when you go out and work in industry, you're not just going to be working with people from your town. Like
Yeah.
engineering is global problem solving. And so like the stuff that's going to work in your small town or even in the United States of America, if you're trying to use that globally as a solution, it's probably not going to actually work globally as a solution. So one of my teammates freshman year, he was from Hong Kong. And so one of our first projects, like the 3 of us who were all from the United States, we were all from different sides. We didn't really have the scope of like, okay, how do we also design this for outside of the United
US, yeah.
States? And so he's like, yeah, just letting you know, this isn't going to work for anywhere outside of outside of America. And we're like, oh, right, cool.
Yeah, no, the different perspectives that you can gain just by expanding your horizons and talking to different people is a really unique opportunity at Purdue, with the fact that it has so many people from so many different backgrounds. And I'm just going to jump back to your travels a little bit. If I remember correctly, you went for like just a weekend or a few days to Paris, right? Or maybe it wasn't Paris, it was
London?
somewhere. Yes, London.
Well,
There we go.
I've been also to Paris. I've been a lot of places. I've been very fortunate. That's what I used a lot of my co-op money for. I paid for tuition. I paid for my apartment. And I traveled a lot.
Can't be mad at that.
No, I can't. I got paid very nicely. You get paid, what is it? Average is like $35 to $50, $25 to $50, something like that an hour for engineers for internships and co-ops. So it's like,
And I
yeah,
guess
It's
where
good
I
money.
was going
Yes.
with that was, would you say engineering students at Purdue have free time?
yes. I literally went to London for 4 days and came back, and I did not miss a beat, didn't miss homework, didn't miss anything like that.
Yeah.
You have free time as an engineering student, and whether it's travel, whether I honestly, looking back, I probably could have totally done club rugby. I definitely think it would have been very interesting. I would have given up probably a lot of my weekends, and I really
Yeah.
like my weekends in bed, hanging out with my friends and stuff like that. But you have time. I mean,
Yeah.
we all do stuff outside of engineering, and I think that's actually really important, is to have friends outside of engineering as well and like do things outside, because engineers, we're really awesome. We're really cool. But sometimes we engineer a little too much.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's really nice to like have some friends who are in like the business school, have some friends who are in like the vet school or like the College of Science, and just be able to talk about things that like aren't engineering for a little bit.
And that's just like a good thing for like life in general.
Yes.
Like you don't want to just have your coworkers be your only source of friends. Like it should be something where you have friends in different areas of life.
True. Yes. So yeah, please have a life.
Yeah.
If you anywhere you go, even if you don't end up coming to Purdue, which I mean you totally should.
And you will
like,
have time.
Yes.
Like there's time.
Yes. Please have a life, and like please do things that are fun outside of engineering.
Yeah, while it's a very rigorous program and it's going to demand a lot from you, there is still time to be a person outside of being that student.
Just don't wait till 11:59 to start your homework and you'll be good.
Yeah, that's a very bad idea.
that is the bad idea.
Yeah.
We've all done it though. Except
there.
probably Calvin.
Yeah.
You probably haven't done that.
Well, I usually start my homework extra. That's a me thing.
Yes.
Would you say that there are any favorite labs, professors that you've really liked in ME?
Or projects?
Ooh, okay.
I mean, maybe don't go too deep on the labs. 'Cause
Yes.
we are going to have more information coming on
do.
that.
We are.
Okay, so probably this is really hard. So I've met a lot of really wonderful professors throughout like my time at Purdue, and a lot of them have been in the mechanical engineering department. A lot of them have also been outside the mechanical engineering department as well. Probably like the professor who I don't want to say I owe everything to, because that's way too much of pressure, but he's really awesome, is Dr. Montavlo.
Yeah.
He is super awesome. I'm sure he's probably going to watch this, so hi. He is doing a ton of different work, and he does a lot of work with like also our professional connections and industry connections within the mechanical engineering department. So he runs like senior design and works with industry partners on getting actual industry projects for senior design students to work on and actually complete in a semester, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then he also, we've also been working very closely together for the past 3.5 years on that class that I was formerly talking about, ME 263. That was the mechanical engineering sophomore design course, which what I would say would probably be my second favorite course that I took at Purdue. Again, I really like the design classes. They're super fun.
What did you design in this class?
So that class, what it originally was, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about what it's changing into in a little bit. What it was basically group projects. You get in a group for the entire semester, and you basically come up with your own problem to solve.
Wow.
So for us, we were kind of like, okay, well, what do we see, like, what needs fixing in our life right now? And frankly, like most of them were like, okay, well, it's kind of annoying getting out of our lofted bed, but like that's been done before. Like there's ladders for that. So I actually called up like my Nana. I was like, hey Nana, like how you doing today? And I was like, so like how many issues have you had today? Like what's been going on? Like what have been your recent problems? And she listed off a ton of problems in her life. She's like 5'4" ish, I would say. And my grandpa, he has like a super lifted truck.
Yeah.
And honestly, even comparison to Indiana standard, it's not lifted, but New England standards, it is pretty lifted.
Yeah.
And she's like, Alanna, he was trying to take me to Home Depot this morning, and I could barely get in the truck. I need to make a running start, and my hips just aren't made that way anymore. And so I was like, okay, let's see if we could do something with that. So my team, we made what was called the car step. And so it was basically this extendable ladder that would sit between the door and like the seat.
Yeah.
And it would be like a crank lever. So you would just be sitting in your seat and you could crank it out and step out of the vehicle, and it would slide forward. And it was pretty cool. We only went up to medium fidelity because, it's only one semester. And we were sophomores, so our skills were limited, I would say, especially in the machine shop, which is something that we're actively working on right now. But it was a really good experience of kind of figuring out not just the product side, but we also learned like the financial side. Like, how do we actually like finance a project? Like, how much is it actually going to cost if we were going to go to full scale production with this project? And it made me realize like, wow, things are really expensive. And I'm sure if I did them now with kind of the increase in prices I've seen in the last 4 years, I'm sure our project would no longer be affordable to do. So yeah, that was probably my favorite class. And I've also done research with Dr. Montavolo as well.
That's awesome.
On GRIT, which is super cool, which stands for Global Research, Industry, and Teaming. So it's kind of an acronym that we made in the mechanical engineering department after Mitch Daniels said, our students are have a ton of grit. Mechanical engineering said, we're going to take that. Actually, we're going to take that and run. Smart. So just kind of looking at student success with how much they did in their undergrad career when it came to those 4 kind of categories. And not so surprising. Do those things and you're going to get a better job and be happier when you graduate. Mm-hmm. Surprise. So, surprise. Yeah.
All right, so I hear that there's a tradition in ME to make a hammer.
Yes.
You didn't happen to bring yours with you, did you?
No way.
Oh, it's all wrapped. This is my hammer.
Oh my gosh.
This was made in
That is beautiful.
February-ish. I think I finished it like March 2nd.
Wait, hold on. Let me show this camera.
Okay.
This.
It is, let's see. I don't know if you'll be focused on it whatsoever, but it's pretty cool. There's a stamp on one side. Actually, there's a stamp on 3 sides. I made it in 2023. No, 2022. Yeah, 2022. So when I took ME 263. So the class that has now turned into ME 264, which we will talk about actually in a podcast that we will be releasing at a later point in time, all about the new machine shop that the mechanical engineering department just finished doing. And so students still make their hammer. Students have been making their hammer in mechanical engineering for a really, really, really long time. Like my bosses and my boss's boss had their hammer on my co-op displayed in their office still. So it's it's one of those things that every student in mechanical engineering has to make their hammer. So it's kind of like a rite of passage thing. Yeah. And so now we've taken that idea of the hammer and turned it into a whole class around the hammer.
Oh, that is awesome.
So when we do that podcast, which you definitely should watch, I'll have some examples to show that are way cooler than my hammer, because mine is also messed up too. It's about 1.5 inches shorter than it's supposed to be. So, whatever.
So what were some of the kind of skills and things you learned while you were making the hammer?
Yeah, so the handle of this was made with a lathe. So it spins really fast, and you have this really sharp tool that basically goes in and cuts away the metal. And then the hammer head, this is made with a mill and a lathe. So you mill out pretty much all the cool angled parts and everything like that, and then you go in with the lathe to get the smooth round part right here. And then the last thing is you stamp all the sides. So I have the Purdue University logos on both sides, and then you'll probably never be able to see it because you can barely see it in person, but there's a little Purdue Pete with his hammer that says mechanical engineering right on the tip. And I will say it is a little unfortunate. They changed it from being a brass, a big brass head and a wooden handle. Yeah. This is all aluminum now, so you can't actually use it as a hammer, or else you're going to dent in Purdue Pete's face. And I feel that would be very I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that to poor Pete. So you learn a lot of those machine shop skills. But we wanted to teach students more. And so now they get to use a ton of different machines in the new class.
This is awesome, Alanna. You have so many experiences, opportunities you've taken advantage of. How would you say that ME's kind of satisfied, or how would you say Purdue has satisfied your love for ME and kind of set you up for your future and what you want to do after college?
Yeah, so that's kind of a loaded question. Purdue overall has given me more opportunities and experiences than I ever could have imagined. And I mean, obviously I've been pretty, active in kind of going out and getting those opportunities, but even people who aren't necessarily as active of going out and teaching and trying to connect and do research and do all these things, I haven't met anyone who has graduated with a blank resume from Purdue, ever. They're either doing tons of research or they're doing lots of internships, or they're teaching, or they have a part-time job on campus. People are always doing so much. And I think that really prepares you, because with engineering kind of in industry, especially mechanical engineering, you don't really know where you're going to kind of end up.
Yeah.
it was just announced that we have like the Purdue One Virgin Atlantic mission. Virgin Galactic. Yep. I think Virgin Atlantic is the cruise line.
Yeah, it is.
And so, and he's a civil engineer, and now he's going to go up into space and be like an astronaut and not do any like civil stuff. So like with the Purdue degree, like they're really setting you up for being an incredibly interdisciplinary based engineer, no matter what degree your home is, I guess. That allows you to be able to go off and do amazing things. And even if you're actually not going off and doing like a necessarily engineering role, like you're not sitting at a desk and, you know, oh, I'm catting away for my life, or, you know, I'm putting test tubes in other I don't know what chemical engineers do, frankly.
Yeah.
I think test tubes are involved somehow, probably. That you're going to be set up for success with just like the tools that they teach you, and just kind of the ability to multitask, and frankly just all the teamwork. Like we do teamwork, and it's not even like it's forced on you, except for freshman year really. But it's just so ingrained in how we do like homework and quizzes. Like the only thing I do alone are my exams. Like my quizzes are even like in groups, and like the professor's like, okay, get with your group, do your quiz. We're like, okay, easy. And like that's the way the real world works. You do everything in teams, and so it makes really strong engineers, but also really great communicators and teammates as well. And so that's one thing I'm really grateful for.
I always like to say that Purdue emulates industry in that fact that engineering is no longer a solo sport. It's a team sport.
It is a team sport.
And you have to collaborate with other people. And there's a lot of programs where you're not necessarily going to get the same level of collaboration as you get at Purdue through the homeworks, the exams, the projects. And that's something that really sets Purdue engineers up for success in their future. One other thing I wanted to have you touch on is the fact that you pretty much are paying for your college experience and graduating with very little debt. Can you go into how you were able to do that and manage all of that?
Yeah, so I'm not going to say it's easy by any means. And I will say I'm very thankful to my parents. They definitely helped me out a lot freshman year. They had a little saving account from when I was a baby, and, you know, it grew, and I think it was like a 529 plan or something like that. And so that helped me out freshman year, which was really awesome, especially because at that time I wasn't working any part-time jobs on campus. And at that point I didn't have any co-op, anything like that. And I went into college with COVID, so I didn't have like a high school job or anything that I had like pocket money that I could rely on. So I had some saved up so I could, you know, buy some pizza with some friends when we were like doing like late night studying and everything freshman year. But really what it was that co-op. So I was able to save, frankly, about $10,000 to $15,000 after every semester I worked. And that was I'm not going to say I was like balling on a budget when I was on co-op. I was living life pretty lavishly. I was like, I love paychecks coming in. This is fabulous. So, you know, I was paying for rent, groceries, car. You know, working a 9 to 5 is significantly easier than being an engineering student. Like I had so much free time on the evenings and weekends. So I would just like go take weekend trips, like 5 places. So I definitely wasn't spending money as cautiously when I was on co-op as I do when I'm on academic semesters, for sure. And so I would use that to help pay for my tuition, and it also helped go for like my apartment or my rent or, you know, my car, gas, whatever it is.
That's amazing.
And then, so I did that every other semester for quite a while. And so that kind of paid for Purdue. And then this year, since I didn't do a co-op this past summer, I was actually working here at the office, and I was starting building up the new course with Dr. Montavlo from pretty much the ground up this summer, which was a lot of work. That I didn't do kind of any industry. So that's why I did the part-time co-op as well this year was, okay, well, I'm taking 6 credits. I have a lot of time on my hands. And so I'm like, okay, well, I might as well do another part-time co-op. So I'm also using money for that to help pay for rent as well. And that also is helping pay for my tuition this semester, next semester. And so I'm definitely working a lot. And I'm sure, I mean, you two know me. Yep. You guys know I'm always working. I'm always working, always doing something, but it's no work that I don't necessarily not enjoy. Like I'm enjoying everything I'm doing, and a lot of the stuff I'm doing on campus, everything pays me that I'm doing on campus, and so that also has been really like very beneficial as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing, Alanna.
Yeah.
Honestly, thank you so much for explaining to us your walk through ME. It's been really amazing. I think Calvin has also enjoyed hearing about all of your stories.
Been
And
thoroughly enlightened.
yeah, I love the hammer class specifically. But one final question.
Yeah.
What's one piece of advice that you would give to an incoming student that's looking at Purdue Engineering?
Okay, so
Or could even just be in general for
Yeah.
any student looking at college.
looking at college.
Yeah, like a piece of advice.
Okay. So I'm assuming that you're looking at college and like you're looking more at like engineering. I mean, this is kind of goes the same for most majors, but engineering specifically, pretty much everyone here at Purdue came in with a stellar GPA, stellar SAT, ACT, whatever it was, extracurriculars out the wazoo, doing stuff from sun up till way past sundown.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you get to college and you don't actually know how to study. You don't actually know how to, manage your time as well as you thought you did because you had class every day. So you weren't like, okay, you have, like 2 weeks to do this assignment. Okay, well, if I do have 2 weeks to do this assignment, it probably can't take me that long, right? Well, here in college, that 2 weeks, if you have 2 weeks for an assignment, that means it'll probably take you at least 20 hours. Like if they give you 2 weeks, it's 2 weeks usually for a
be a
reason.
time commitment.
You better get
Yes.
started.
So I think the biggest thing that I always kind of talk about, especially with Engineering 194 and talk about with all those freshmen about, and this goes the same for all of you, is your first semester and your first year at college, it's going to be a lot of not just adapting of living on your own, but it's going to be a lot of adapting of learning how to study and learning how to accept failure. And I don't just necessarily just mean like you're going to get a bad grade in an exam, because it happens to everybody at some point, but also like social failures, emotional failures, like all these failures are going to happen at some point, and learning how to deal with that and being away from your family can be very, very hard for people. I know like I had a lot of people I surrounded myself with freshman year, and then after like winter break, I didn't really talk to any of those people anymore. We don't like hate each other. Nothing happened. It's just like we moved on. We met other people. And then especially once you get into your major, I would say that's where you kind of really find your friends, especially here at Purdue in engineering. Like you really meet your core group of people in your major. And in your sophomore year, once you've kind of figured out all the other things like studying, how do I become a person? So I think the biggest tip is really just give yourself a lot of grace, because you're going to fail, and just allowing yourself to be like, okay, this happened. I tried my best. I'm going to pick myself up and just keep going, because I got to graduate. I got to do it. I got to keep going.
It's 100% not about when you fall down or how many times you fall down, but how you pick yourself back up.
Yeah.
It's a bar.
And I fall down all the time. I literally tripped out of I actually tripped this morning, like walking out of the plant, to the point where they had to write it up because I fell on company property, and I just like totally didn't see the step, and I just face planted right in the parking lot in front of everyone. They're like, oh, that's a new kid.
What you got here?
Did you not watch the slips, trips, and falls safety video?
The funniest part was I actually that day finished my training on like don't fall. So you're gonna fall, you're gonna fail. It just happens. Pick yourself back up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And well, that concludes this week's episode. As always, reach out to the Office of Future Engineers if you have any more questions.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys next week.